Hello there.
Welcome to a galaxy far, far away. In this video, I'll explain why Star Wars: The Last Jedi is the chosen one, while SAO is more Jar Jar Binks than Jedi Master. I'll also do a full analysis of The Last Jedi after the comparison part is over, so stick around if you want to see that. I've got a really good feeling about this, so grab some blue milk and let's get started.
This is where the fun begins.
Number 1. Visuals. The visual effects in Star Wars: The Last Jedi are outstanding. You can tell that the visual effects artists at Industrial Light and Magic are extremely skilled at their job. There's several jaw-droppingly good scenes in the movie, like the lightspeed ramming scene, all the spaceship battle scenes, and the entire final fight scene on Crate. Not to mention that Supreme Leader Snoke is an entirely CGI character, yet he looks very realistic. Additionally, the lightsabers themselves are incredible. George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, even described Star Wars: The Last Jedi as beautifully made.
SAO's visuals are like a cheap knockoff of every other generic anime out there. It's like the animators were running on autopilot, recycling the same old character designs and uninspired backgrounds. It's a snooze fest of bland colors and predictable animation that makes you wonder if they even tried.
Number 2. Music. The music in Star Wars: The Last Jedi, composed by John Williams, is top-notch. The songs are really iconic and help make all the scenes much more exciting and thrilling, especially during the fight scenes.
SAO's music is like elevator music on a loop, draining any excitement faster than a deflating balloon. It's as forgettable as yesterday's leftovers, with tunes that couldn't catch your attention if they were on fire. Listening to it feels like being stuck in traffic with a broken radio playing the same song over and over again.
Number 3. Acting. The acting in Star Wars: The Last Jedi is excellent. Great performances from all the cast members. Carrie Fisher's performance in particular was remarkable. It's her final performance as Leia because she passed away in 2016, and they're going to use unreleased archival footage of Carrie Fisher from The Force Awakens in The Rise of Skywalker. Additionally, we've never really seen Luke Skywalker in this kind of position before, so it was certainly interesting to see Mark Hamill's execution of Luke's broken character, and I'm sure that fans were shocked to see this after the big cliffhanger at the end of The Force Awakens. This is not the Luke Skywalker we used to know, and it was a nice breath of fresh air to see this different side of him.
The voice acting in SAO is flatter than a pancake run over by a steamroller. It's like listening to a bunch of robots trying to express emotions but failing miserably. The actors sound as enthusiastic as a sloth on a Sunday afternoon. It's like they're reading off a grocery list instead of delivering lines with any real passion or conviction.
Number 4. Action. There's several great action scenes in Star Wars: The Last Jedi as well. It was a welcome surprise to see Rey and Kylo Ren team up together to fight the Praetorian Guards. The final fight scene with Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren on Crate was also terrific. It was pretty clever how Luke Skywalker tricked Kylo Ren into believing he was actually there. Additionally, the Finn vs. Captain Phasma fight scene was phenomenal. The opening space battle scene was extraordinary as well.
The action scenes in SAO are about as thrilling as watching grass grow on a cloudy day. They lack the punch and excitement that you'd expect from a show about fighting monsters and saving the world. It's like watching two snails race in slow motion, with all the intensity of a limp handshake. There's no tension, no adrenaline rush, just a bunch of characters swinging swords around like they're swatting flies.
Number 5. Consequences. Oftentimes in movies, TV shows, and anime, the writers are scared to kill off beloved characters that people are attached to, and if the characters do die, they always come back to life somehow later on. Like in the Dragon Ball series, the characters have died and come back to life multiple times. There's several major permanent character deaths and heavy consequences for every action. In Star Wars: The Last Jedi, we have to say goodbye to several characters that we cherished and adored, mainly Luke Skywalker, but also others like Admiral Akbar, Captain Phasma, Supreme Leader Snoke, and Vice Admiral Holdo, just to name a few. All of the deaths are definitely very heartbreaking and emotionally impactful. Moreover, the theme of failure is very important in Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
The greatest teacher failure is.
Each of the characters' failures in the movie teaches them important lessons. The characters are only able to grow because they failed in the first place. For example, Poe learns that he can't continue to make reckless decisions that get several members of his team killed.
In SAO, the characters might as well be made of rubber because nothing seems to stick. They waltz through dangerous situations without a scratch, like they're invincible superheroes in a kid's cartoon. No matter how many times they face death, they bounce back without a care in the world. It's like watching a game of tag where nobody ever gets tagged out. There's no real sense of danger. So there you have it. It's clear that the Force is stronger with The Last Jedi. Just like Luke Skywalker facing down the First Order, The Last Jedi stands tall against SAO's shortcomings. With its rich universe, memorable characters, and epic lightsaber duels, The Last Jedi takes the crown like a Jedi Master, facing off against the dark side. So, next time you're debating which galaxy to dive into, remember, the Force will always be with Star Wars.
Now let's move on to the analysis part for Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Star Wars: The Last Jedi is a 2017 American epic space opera movie. It's written and directed by Rian Johnson. The movie is the sequel to Star Wars: The Force Awakens, and the 8th installment in the main Star Wars movie franchise. In this video, let's take a look at everything Star Wars: The Last Jedi does right. The first thing that Star Wars The Last Jedi does right is open up with a stunning visual sequence to the accompaniment of John Williams' masterful score. This camera shot which pushes in on the spaceships above the planet is the first of its kind in a Star Wars opening sequence. It's clear that Rian Johnson used his full directorial capabilities in crafting this movie. Fun fact, Star Wars The Last Jedi has actually made more money than all of Rian Johnson's previous movies combined. Tension is immediately established when the sinister First Order warships emerge out of hyperspace, above a Resistance base in the heat of an emergency evacuation. Additionally, it should be noted that the Resistance member helping the evacuation here is Carrie Fisher's real-life daughter, Billy Lord. We'll also be able to spot Mark Hamill's kids in another scene later on in the movie as well. Apparently, the First Order motto is "Size Matters." Didn't the Death Star teach these guys a thing or two about putting all their eggs in the gigantic warships basket? Poe Dameron and General Hux's back and forth exchange in the beginning of the movie here showcases how no Star Wars movie is complete without some lighthearted humor to balance out the more serious moments of the movie. Poe Dameron's attack run on the Dreadnought surface cannons is a very eye-catching sequence. It's like something straight out of a video game. The visual effects people that Lucasfilm hired for this movie really know their stuff. In another first for the Star Wars series, we get an inside point of view shot of what BB-8 gets up to when he has to fix Poe Dameron's ship. You know, really not enough credit goes to the droids in these movies for saving everyone's skins all the time. There's a lesson to be learned here from BB-8. When all other attempts to solve a problem fail, smash your head against it. That should do the trick. Or I guess it could end up giving you a concussion. Maybe don't try that the next time your computer is giving you problems. Yeah, I would definitely suggest just turning your computer off and turning it back on again instead. This entire space battle scene is really awesome. It's cool how the movie is able to give us this amazing fight scene right off the bat.
Recharge the autocannons!
Listen to the way this guy says recharge the autocannons. Can anyone sound more First Ordery than that? Where do they even find these people? It's always cool when new ship designs are added into the Star Wars universe. We've never seen bombers like this one until The Last Jedi came out. Part of the inspiration for the whole bombing sequence was from the movie 12 O'Clock High, which is a World War II movie that focuses on a bombing unit. Rian Johnson pulled influences from several classic movies when coming up with ideas for The Last Jedi. The movie does a great job making this a very intense scene. It makes it seem like Paige had dropped the detonator, but instead she catches it at the very last second. Poe and his fleet manage to destroy the First Order dreadnought at a tremendous cost to the Resistance, which plays a big role in the story later on. It's always a mark of great writing when what seems like a victory ends up fueling the conflict later on in the story. Supreme Leader Snoke makes a sinister entrance here. It seems to be a visual nod to Zurg from the movie The Last Starfighter. The world's favorite bromance continues when Poe Dameron approaches Finn and attempts to help orient him in his new surroundings. Best buds for life? Totally. One of the things people really love about Star Wars is the balance between special effects and real-world locations and props. Nothing showcases that more than the stunning location they chose to use as the spot Luke Skywalker exiled himself to. Skellig Michael is a real island somewhere off the coast of Ireland. The filmmakers chose to leave its natural wildlife in many of the shots. They then used special effects to change them into something more Star Wars-y. It was intentional that Luke Skywalker looked a bit like Obi-Wan Kenobi from the original trilogy. Interestingly enough, Sir Alec Guinness was 63 when he played the role. Mark Hamill reprised the role of Luke at the age of 64. There may not be another movie franchise that can boast having characters return decades later to play the same exact role in a continuing narrative. So something truly special is going on with the Star Wars movies. Whoa, that was unexpected. I'm sure that the people watching certainly didn't think that Luke would just toss away the lightsaber. This movie does a great job subverting expectations. The door to Luke Skywalker's hut is actually made out of a wing from his X-Wing. It's neat when prop and setting details like that can really add to the characterization and the story. Rey catches a glimpse of Luke's down X-Wing later in the movie. It's submerged beneath water. This suggests that Luke either crashed or chose to destroy a ship so that he couldn't leave. Having an enraged Wookiee break down your door, barge into your room, and growl at you is the stuff of nightmares. Never make a Wookiee angry. Oh, and also always let them win in any games you play. It's obvious that a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into the visual design of this movie. Snoke's throne room, with that menacing red curtain and the Praetorian guards flanking his elevated throne, sends a clear message that we are now in a place of darkness and evil. Andy Serkis does a fantastic job voicing Supreme Leader Snoke. He sounds very menacing and intimidating. Every time he talks, it just sends chills down your spine. From the setup of The Force Awakens, people expected a menacing villain from Snoke, and I think this movie truly delivers. Even on small details like how easily Snoke is able to conjure up a powerful burst of Force lightning. This is different from the way we've seen it executed with Palpatine and Count Dooku. We really need to take our hats off for Adam Driver's performance of Kylo Ren. His job was to portray a conflicted and emotionally turbulent antagonist, and he accomplishes that really well. His acting abilities are definitely top-notch. This conversation is very ironic. Later in the movie, Luke does exactly that. He walks out with a laser sword sword and faces down the whole First Order all by himself. It's funny how Rey follows Luke Skywalker around the island like his mother, complete with her worrying when he pulls off his pole vaulting fishing stunt. The look that Luke gives to Rey is also the type of look that a disobedient son would throw at his parents, when trying to purposefully make them angry. It's great how mysterious they managed to make this tree look, as well as the sound design that lures Rey towards it in the first place. Hoping to discover new secrets of the Force is always a big draw for any Star Wars fans. Here we get to see a glimpse of some ancient Jedi texts. Hopefully we'll learn more about them in future Star Wars content. But not even Rey being drawn to the tree was enough to get Luke to train her, showing us that his character is in a really dark place at the start of this movie. Pretty hilarious conversation here, even though this movie is very serious. Rian Johnson did a great job adding in some funny dialogue here and there. We also have to commend Carrie Fisher's performance of General Leia in The Last Jedi as well. She managed to truly express just how desperate and hopeless the Resistance's situation was throughout the movie. It's also interesting to note that Carrie Fisher assisted Rian Johnson with the writing of the script in certain parts. For example, all of the jewelry seen on her and Vice Admiral Holdo's character was Carrie Fisher's idea. Just remember to also never get on Leia's bad side, or you could end up getting the General Leia slap treatment. Seriously though, the relationship between her and Poe Dameron is an interesting one. Leia has all these years of experience in a leadership role, going all the way back to her days in the Rebellion, whereas Poe is of a newer generation. Having them butt heads and disagree over how to lead was a great theme to introduce into the story, and just to hammer home the size matter motto even more, the supremacy. Wouldn't all that funding be better spent on more ships rather than bigger targets? They really need to fire their budget manager. Kylo Ren's spinning maneuver during his attack on the Resistance fleet here is definitely a nice callback to when Anakin says that spinning is a good trick in The Phantom Menace. The scene in which Kylo Ren and Leia's faces are intercut to John Williams' beautiful music is one of the most touching moments of the entire Star Wars saga. It's made even more emotional by the fact that Kylo Ren couldn't bring himself to kill Leia, but she gets blown into space anyway. It's also really touching that Carrie Fisher finally received her chance to portray Leia using the Force in such a unique way. It certainly reminds the audience that she's a Skywalker too. I'm with Chewbacca on this one. How could someone eat a porg after seeing those adorable poor guys? Fun fact, the porgs were created as a response to the native puff-ups on Skellig Michael. The filmmakers were unable to move the birds, as they are a protected species, and it would have been way too time-consuming anyways, so they used some special effects magic to work them into the movie. I think this shows how great filmmakers are also great planners and great spur-of-the-moment problem solvers. To add to many of R2's heroic deeds in the saga, Rian Johnson cleverly used the original hologram of Leia asking for Obi-Wan Kenobi's help as a plot device, to get Luke motivated to rejoin the world and start Rey on the Jedi path. This footage was recreated using original footage shot during production of Star Wars A New Hope. Laura Dern was a great choice to play Vice Admiral Holdo. Her personality fits the character perfectly. Also, every time Vice Admiral Holdo shoots a gun in this movie, you can see Laura Dern saying pew when she fires. Rian Johnson stated that Laura Dern can never not do that every time she shot a gun. Kelly Marie Tran did a really great job playing the Resistance mechanic Rose Tico. She originally had to tell her family she was filming an indie movie in Canada in order to keep the secret of her character before Lucasfilm revealed it. She even brought her parents some maple syrup to try to convince them that she had really been in Canada. Rose and Finn's dynamic is a fun one. It's hilarious seeing Finn try to maintain the aura of being some big shot, while also hiding the fact that he's trying to escape. Remember what Han said, folks? Women always find out the truth. The decision to have Rey and Kylo Ren communicate via the Force was a really creative one. Rian Johnson said that this arose from the need to have the two characters talk to each other, despite being separated by such vast physical distances. The shots of the Jedi Temple on Ahch-To really illustrate why it was such an awesome idea to use this real island for the movie set. It would have been very hard to create such a breathtaking setting using only CGI. Another hilarious moment here. Once again, Rian Johnson does a fantastic job adding in some funny moments. It's really awesome to see Luke Skywalker finally become a teacher of the Force. Throughout the original trilogy, Luke was always the one being mentored, but The Last Jedi finally takes his character one step beyond when he agrees to train Rey. Poor Chewbacca. If I were Chewie, I'd have shot all the porgs out of an airlock before they started ruining my ship. Just kidding, porgs are cute. This alien, Yasto Atzmon, actually says Pablo Rain Curie, which is a reference to 3 of the members on Lucasfilm Story Group, Pablo Hidalgo, Rain Roberts, and Curie Hart. Additionally, Rian Johnson was the one who voiced this character. How many of you guys knew that?
This is a public beach. We can't park that shuttle here.
The funny alien here that complains about Finn and Rose parking on a public beach is voiced by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, one of Rian Johnson's close friends. That's definitely a nice voice cameo. Joseph Gordon-Levitt has also starred in some of Rian Johnson's other movies, like Brick and Looper. Yet another hilarious moment. It's funny how this alien is placing coins into BB-8 like a slot machine. He must be really drunk. It's neat to see Rose introduce a new theme to the audience in her discussion to Finn, about the war profiteers making money off of the various conflicts in the galaxy. One of the things the sequel trilogy was missing up until that point was us some context for why things are the way they are, but this conversation delivers a bit more information to us. According to the stunt coordinator, it normally takes 3 days for Daisy Ridley to learn new lightsaber movements, but she was able to learn the moves in this scene in only an hour and a half. Props to Daisy for being so skilled with a lightsaber when you're just trying to wheelbarrow your fish up a jagged mountainside, and a heavy piece of falling rock destroys your hull. Hashtag just fish people things.
They allowed Darth Sidious to rise, create the Empire, and wipe them out.
Luke Skywalker mentions Darth Sidious by his Sith name in this scene, which is the only time in the saga outside the prequel trilogy that Palpatine's Sith name gets used. According to Rian Johnson, the reason Luke had exiled himself to the island was because Luke believed the Jedi were just perpetuating the cycle of conflict between the Jedi and the Sith, and he believed the light needed to arise from a worthier source. It was actually Rian Johnson's idea again, to reveal what happened between Ben and Luke the night the Jedi Temple was destroyed, via a series of flashbacks. The flashbacks themselves are inspired by the movie Rashomon, a samurai movie from 1950. That's pretty awesome. It's cool how BB-8 single-handedly took out all those prison guards. Once again, the droids don't seem to get enough credit. Some amazing visual effects here. The fathiers in this movie actually look pretty realistic. Rose said that she wished she could put her whole fist through Canto Bight. Well, it looks like she got to put several hooves through it instead. Okay, Luke, if your goal is to scare the crap out of me when I'm walking down the street, then that's exactly how you should step out from the shadows to surprise me. Seriously, man, what's with the spooky demeanor? To go back to Leia finally being more in tune with the Force in this movie, it was touching to see Luke be the one to wake her up from the coma. This was a neat little callback to that moment in Empire, when Luke uses the Force to reach out for Leia's help as he's hanging from the bottom of Cloud City. Looks like he finally managed to repay her by getting her up and running again in The Last Jedi. Ah, and here's the beefcake who spawned 1,000 memes. It's so interesting comparing Luke's initial story he told Rey to Ben's point of view of the same night. Notice how Luke looks much more sinister, even downright evil in Ben's eyes. This is the second of 3 flashbacks revealing what happened that night, and it was a very important moment that helped develop Ben and Rey's dynamic going forward. Rey's cave experience seems to echo Luke's vision on Dagobah when Yoda told him to enter without any weapons, except Rey's version is like 100 times more trippier. There's been a lot of speculation about what Rey's cave vision means, who the 2 shadows were, and who that is after the shadows merge into one person. Regardless of what it all might mean, this is a great scene for introducing mystery that will keep audiences waiting for the next Star Wars movie, to see if any of the questions here actually get answered. Rian Johnson had a really hard job crafting a middle chapter of a trilogy. He couldn't give too much away, but he also had to offer something to move the story along. This cave vision seems to be a nice middle ground in that regard. In one of the most unexpected moments of the movie, Rey and Kylo Ren come closer together, much to Luke Skywalker's dismay. Mark Hamill said in an interview that Luke was upset that Rey seemed to be interested in his naughty nephew. The moment in which Luke blows up the hut that Rey and Kylo Ren are talking was actually done via practical effects. It was achieved by using fake bricks that were attached to wires, so that they could be pulled apart. It's cool to see that so much effort was put into making practical effects, when any other productions might have just taken the easy route, with CGI bricks. The scene in which Rey confronts Luke Skywalker with a lightsaber, forcing him to tell her the truth about what happened on the night with Ben Solo, was a scene that carried over from the George Lucas days of story development. The concept art of this scene shows Rey holding a blue lightsaber to Luke on an island setting without rain, and when Rey's name was still Kira. In the third and final flashback sequence, the truth is finally revealed to the audience. Luke Skywalker did contemplate murdering his nephew in his sleep, but the temptation passed over him like a fleeting shadow. However, it was too late. Ben Solo had already seen what Luke was going to do. Rey attempts to bring Luke Skywalker back into the fight by offering him the lightsaber, so he can go and confront his nephew, but Luke again refuses. He's seen one too many hands get lopped off with that blade, so I can't really blame him. But it is an interesting moment for his character. He is too guilt-ridden and fearful of the past to do what needs to be done in the immediate moment, confronting Kylo Ren, whom Rey says he created. It was actually the idea of Frank Oz, the actor who plays Yoda, to reveal his character through silhouette when Luke goes to burn down the ancient tree housing the Jedi texts. It's super cool that we finally see what Obi-Wan meant by obtaining a power greater than anything Vader could have imagined. Yoda literally freaking calls down lightning from the sky like Zeus. Also, look at the way Yoda stomps his feet as he laughs. Isn't he adorable? Don't let the size fool you. Get on his bad side and you could find yourself struck by lightning on a clear day. Yoda is seen as one of the best in the movie. With all the emphasis on how to handle the past in The Last Jedi, Yoda's reappearance to drop some key wisdom at the right moment really highlights what the movie tells us about how to deal with the past. Failures will occur, but it is healthier to embrace the past, with its successes and failures, learning from it, than it is to try and destroy it or pretend like it doesn't exist. In other words, pay attention in history class, folks. Back on the ship that that BB-8 and DJ stole, DJ demands some form of a deposit payment. Before he agrees to slip them onto Snoke's ship, Rose readily offers up her necklace, which was part of a matching set that she and her sister split. This really highlights the differing points of view between Rose and DJ. Rose is readily able to give up things that she holds dear for the cause, whereas DJ is concerned only for himself and the payment. Finn in many ways is caught between these two worldviews, and has to make a choice which one to adopt. DJ's character isn't just there to act as a foil to Rose though. He does reveal a key truth that went unaddressed in the Skywalker saga until The Last Jedi, which was that there are people funding and arming both sides of conflicts in order to make a profit, a fact that DJ uses to justify his reluctance to get involved in any larger struggles. Someone should really tell Poe to watch Anger Management with Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson. That kind of anger is not healthy. Rian Johnson confirmed in The Art of the Last Jedi book that the escape pod Rey is in was intended to look like a coffin. That's definitely a nice little detail. This Spaceballs type of scene with the ironing machine was absolutely hilarious, totally unexpected, and a good way to lighten up the mood when things were starting to take a turn for the dark. The First Order sure knows their stuff about uniforms. How could something that looks so menacing also look so cute? It's too bad that we don't get to see a longer scene between BB-8 and his First Order droid counterpart. The elevator scene in which Rey and Kylo Ren share some dialogue is definitely meant to evoke the scene in Return of the Jedi, when Luke surrenders himself to Darth Vader and attempts to make him believe that there is still good in him. Rey went to Kylo Ren with the goal of emulating the legend of Luke Skywalker, and the visual language of the sequence definitely shows us that. Apparently Laura Dern, the actress who played Vice Admiral Holdo, could not resist yelling pew every time she fired a blaster on set. You can tell that she's definitely a true Star Wars fan. One of the most touching scenes of the movie is when Holdo tells Leia that she's going to stay behind to pilot the ship so that the rest of the Resistance can escape. When Leia responds that she can't handle any more losses, Holdo says that Leia taught her how to keep struggling, which helps inspire Leia. It was nice to see how all of Leia's sacrifice over the years pay off, with how it inspires people to keep fighting, even when things seem bleakest. In another creepy first for the Star Wars saga, Snoke uses the Force to levitate Rey and pull her toward him, slowly and menacingly. Andy Serkis really did a great job pulling off the role. He even remarked during an interview that getting to play such a dark character was almost like therapy to him. We've also never seen the ability to extract information from someone's mind, portrayed in such an excruciating and violent way. Kudos to actress Daisy Ridley for pulling off what looks like a very difficult performance in this scene. Back on the escape pods carrying the remainder of the Resistance, Poe learns that Holdo's plan was to evacuate everyone down to a planet known as Crate, where they would hide in an old Resistance base to escape the First Order. Poe's side plan actually ruined Holdo's. As DJ reported to the First Order what the Resistance was up to, it was necessary for the story to give the Resistance yet another run for their money, so that when Luke Skywalker eventually showed up, it was when they literally needed a miracle. Meanwhile, the captured Rose and Finn learned that it was DJ who sold them and the Resistance out for money. This moment is when Finn's character grows, choosing to side with a bigger cause than lead a selfish life for profit. Finn becomes the exact opposite of DJ. In another visual echo to Return of the Jedi, Snoke has Rey look through a viewfinder at the Resistance fleet being destroyed on their escape run to Crate, just like how Luke Skywalker had to watch as the Imperial fleet had the superior odds on the rebellion. Apparently, Star Wars bad guys have a hard time learning the lesson of not celebrating before it's safe to say that victory has been achieved. The irony in how easily Snoke was killed despite how powerful he was portrayed is one of the greatest parts of the movie. It simultaneously subverts expectations and enriches the narrative. Oh yeah, it's also the first time we see someone turn on a lightsaber by using the Force, which is pretty cool. This entire fight scene is really awesome. It's cool to see Rey and Kylo Ren working together to fight against the Praetorian Guards. DJ's maybe line was entirely improvised by Benicio del Toro himself. It's nice how the actors were also able to add in some of their own lines. It's super cool how Kylo Ren's fighting style is a mixture of lightsaber techniques, Han Solo style improvisation, and dirty tricks. This is the kind of attention to detail that really makes a movie stand out, like father, like son. Wow, what a way to die, lightsabered right through the eye. In one of the most pivotal scenes of the movie, Kylo Ren, rather than joining Rey, demands that she join him, then reveals the truth of her parentage to the audience, that she is a nobody, descended from filthy junk traders who sold her off for drinking money. We also learn that Rey was denying this truth her entire life. Kylo Ren only got her to accept it. The lightspeed ramming scene here is one of the most visually impressive scenes in the entire Star Wars saga. The special effects team and Rian Johnson really deserve a lot of praise for coming up with this one. Not only is it visually stylistic, but it really highlights the desperation of the Resistance. They have resorted to suicide runs in order to keep the First Order from killing off the rest of them. Fun fact, a lot of people in the theater thought that the silence during the scene was a technical failure. Some theaters even had to post signs saying that the silence was part of the movie, placed in there for creative effect. Finn finally has his epic showdown with Captain Phasma, in a fight that's also filled with awesome visual effects. John Boyega really oozes the ferocity that we would expect from someone fighting their arch nemesis, a person that literally represents everything Finn has come to reject as a character. While Rian Johnson was trying to figure out how to show Captain Phasma after Finn whacks her with his melee melee weapon, Daisy Ridley actually came up with the idea to show just a sliver of her face to reveal a completely natural eye. Rian Johnson loved the idea so much that it made it into the final cut of the movie. Hux may be just as good at throwing temper tantrums as Kylo Ren, but he lacks the Force. And in the First Order where might makes right, he's forced to choke out the words "Long live the Supreme Leader." How awesome is the sequence of Crate and the shot of Leia looking out over the salty landscape, brooding over what's to come. She knows that the First Order is on its way, and that the Resistance stands little chance of survival. These crystal foxes that are native to Crate are another testament to the wizardry of industrial light and magic. This movie definitely deserved the Best Visual Effects nomination at the 90th Academy Awards. In what seems to be a running gag in the Star Wars movies, Finn refers to the big cannon that the First Order deploys as a miniaturized Death Star tech. This almost comes off as a joke about the criticism that Star Wars keeps showing the bad guys using bigger and bigger weapons. This time around it's a tiny version of the Death Star. Also prepare for war sequence that we've come to expect from Star Wars movies. This has a lot of visual similarities to the battle between the Empire and the Rebellion that took place on Hoth in The Empire Strikes Back. Only this time instead of a snowy environment, it's a salty one. Next to the Resistance soldier who says it's salt is Gareth Edwards, the director of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. It's really cool how Lucasfilm uses cameo appearances in their movies. How awesome are these action shots of the battle taking place on Crate? Rian Johnson really knows how to direct some stunning action sequences. Wookiees aren't the only ones who can conjure up epic battle cries. Apparently Porgs can also catch war fever too.
Blow that piece of junk out of the sky!
The way that Kylo Ren yells, "Blow that piece of junk out of the sky," is one of the best lines Adam Driver delivers in the movie. It positively drips of rage. Fans of John Williams' musical talent will definitely recognize the usage of the TIE Fighter attack theme, which has been used in only 2 other occasions in the Star Wars saga, when the Millennium Falcon escapes the TIE Fighters after Obi-Wan Kenobi's death in A New Hope, and again when Lando Calrissian leads the attack run inside the second Death Star in Return of the Jedi. The Skywalker saga wouldn't be complete without John Williams' musical abilities, guiding the visuals of the movies. In another unexpected twist, Rose stops Finn from carrying out his suicide run on the mini Death Star cannon, challenging the notion that dying for a bigger cause is more valuable than living to fight another day. It's great to see a Star Wars movie take an old idea and expand upon it in new ways. Sorry Finn, I guess you'll have to make a heroic sacrifice at a later time. For right now you're needed with the Resistance. This is such a powerful and heartfelt message that the movie is trying to portray. It's pretty much the same way that Luke saved his father, Darth Vader. This is where we see Leia at her lowest point ever. Across all the Star Wars movies, the story really hammers home the hopeless situation that the Resistance are in. So much so that even General Leia is resigned to defeat. It was necessary for Rian Johnson to take the story to such an extreme, so that the Resistance literally needed a miracle in order to survive. That miracle finally arrives in the form of Luke Skywalker, what seemingly looks like a plot hole. How did Luke even get off the island to Crate? Ends up being set up for one of the most epic Force abilities in a Star Wars movie to date. After sharing a touching scene with his sister, in which he reignites her hope, Luke Skywalker heads off to face his nephew Kylo Ren. The 3 Resistance fighters who pop their heads up just before Poe are actually Mark Hamill's kids. It must be great having a dad who can land you a cameo gig in a feature-length Star Wars production. Luke's visual appearance in this sequence is very symbolic. He looks much different than he did on the island, resembling the look he had when he almost killed Ben Solo all those years ago. He also sort of looks like a Legends depiction of Luke Skywalker, which visually tells fans that he's about to once again become the legendary Jedi he used to be. Luke brushing off his shoulder in an attempt to taunt Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren's reaction to it is a hilarious moment of the movie. Luke really knows how to tick off his family members. There are several clues in the scenes between Kylo Ren and Luke that indicate something bigger is going on. Kylo Ren's feet interact with the salt on Crate, whereas Luke's do not. Additionally, Kylo Ren's lightsaber interacts with the salt flakes and the debris in the air, whereas Luke's lightsaber doesn't. All of this shows that Luke Skywalker is using the Force to project himself onto the planet. He isn't really there. How's that for a new Force ability on the big screen? The Matrix and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon want their style back, Rian Johnson. In all seriousness, this is another moment the movie employed the use of slow motion for creative effect. In the ultimate Jedi move, Luke Skywalker once again refuses to fight his dark-sided family member. Instead, he lets Kylo Ren unleash the full force of his anger upon him, only to realize that Luke isn't really there. This prevented Kylo Ren from further damaging his soul by killing another family member, but showed Kylo Ren the length Luke was willing to go in order to confront him and apologize to him. It's a crowning moment for Luke's character, one that encapsulates everything he stands for. It's also hard not to get a little bit teary-eyed when Luke becomes one with the Force to the image of twin suns, echoing the moment in A New Hope when he looked out across the deserts of Tatooine, dreaming of a life greater than the one he knew. The shot of Kylo Ren entering the Resistance base with the stormtroopers behind him is meant to be visually reminiscent of the moment when Anakin Skywalker entered the Jedi Temple with clone troopers at his back. That's definitely a nice detail. It's interesting to note that Rey saved the Jedi text from being burned. Did Yoda, that little trickster, know this when he stopped Luke from entering the tree? Despite having lost everything, Leia and the Resistance are in good spirits. After Luke Luke's miracle moment that saved them, Leia has her hope rekindled and tells Rey that they have everything they need to build a new rebellion, motioning toward the broken lightsaber of Anakin Skywalker. In a heartwarming closing scene, Rian Johnson definitely reminds the audience who these fun space adventure movies are really for, the children who love them. Star Wars The Last Jedi was literally the highest grossing movie of 2017. In Star Wars The Last Jedi currently has a 91% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Additionally, Star Wars The Last Jedi has a very respectable 85 score on Metacritic, so I guess the haters are really just the vocal minority. Moreover, Star Wars The Last Jedi did get an A on CinemaScore, so clearly lots of people liked it. Well, that's it for this video. What did you think of Sword Art Online and Star Wars The Last Jedi? Let me know your opinion in the comments below. As a bonus for sticking around until now, I'll debunk a common criticism about Star Wars The Last Jedi. Well, not so much about the movie itself, more about the ratings that the movie got. A lot of people seem to think that Disney paid critics to leave good reviews for Star Wars The Last Jedi. I'll explain why that's false, and why those people could not be more wrong. First of all, there are plenty of Disney movies that got bad reviews from critics. For example, every single one of Disney's 2019 live-action remake movies got mixed or negative reviews from critics. If Disney paid critics to give all their movies good reviews, then why are there so many movies that got bad reviews? A Wrinkle in Time and The Nutcracker and The Four Realms also got largely negative reviews, and those are Disney movies as well. If paying off critics worked, don't you think that all of the Disney movies will be getting good reviews? Furthermore, if Disney really paid critics to leave good reviews, that would be a big scandal. It would be all over the news. There's over 450 reviews for Star Wars The Last Jedi on Rotten Tomatoes alone. If Disney actually bribed critics, then surely one or more of them would have come out and exposed Disney, and gotten a lot of fame from that. Therefore, it's safe to say that Disney does not pay any critics. If you're interested in watching more videos on Star Wars The Last Jedi, here are some of my suggestions and personal favorites. You've probably already seen all of these videos since they're much more popular than mine, but just thought I'd mention them in case you haven't. If you're new to my channel, I have also done a ton more videos on Sword Art Online, so feel free to check those out if you're interested. I've made all different kinds of videos. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of haters, so any positive comments will be greatly appreciated. I'm also thinking of doing a video defending the Canto Bight part of Star Wars The Last Jedi. Canto Bight is considered to be the worst part of Star Wars The Last Jedi. Let me know if you're interested in watching a video like that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.